Thanks for joining me for another episode of What's That All About? All right, today, like I promised last week, we're going to be doing some stories from Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not going to be like doing what I prefer because I sometimes I like to just like fill you in on facts and the weird stuff that goes on there. But this is stuff that's happened to actual people who are working there or investigating there. Okay. Now, I know you've probably heard of it. I mean, everyone at this point, if you live in the United States, I'm telling you, and you're into the paranormal at all or at all curious about it, you've heard of this place. This place is legendary. And I'll tell you, it's the stuff that has happened to these people, and they're part of the team that works with the History Channel and does the Skinwalker Ranch shows. Okay, and these episodes that I'm going to tell you about happened in the past, but I would highly recommend you watch all the episodes that are out there and available before the new one starts. I believe it starts in May, but I'm not sure. Binge worthy to the tilt. It's worth it. All right, this first story I'm going to tell you about involves a member of the team of the History Channel's latest show. Now, his name is Thomas Winterton, and he's currently the superintendent on the ranch, and that means that he oversees the maintenance of the property, the facilities, the equipment, and he also helps with all the investigations that go on there. Um, he also, okay, has 3 unexplained head injuries that has happened to him. Now, he did not believe in paranormal until he first started working at the ranch, and second, had all these injuries happen to him that all required hospitalization, by the way. Now, the first occurrence was in 2014. And when he first joined the team with the ranch, um, he'd ignored all the warnings from his other team members who told him not to start digging in these specific spots. Namingly, one is Homestead 2. I'll tell you more about that in a couple minutes. Now, as he started to dig in this area around this place called Homestead 2, he began to get a headache. Okay, and he had to go to the doctor. I mean, it was awful. He couldn't even open his eyes. He couldn't really walk straight. It was almost like he was developing symptoms of vertigo. So he thought that that's maybe what had happened to him. That can hit people kind of randomly. It's happened to me, and it's awful. You got to like hold on to the walls to walk and stuff. It's trippy and it's not good, and you get super nauseous. But after he went to the doctors and tests were done, they discovered, now if you have a weak stomach, I warn you, this might turn it because it sort of flipped me out a little bit. After some tests, it was concluded that he had an unexplained bump on his head caused by the skin peeling from his scalp. How does that happen? He didn't hit his head. He doesn't recall ever having any trauma of any kind. Nothing runs in his family. There's nothing that would have or could have warned him something like this was going to happen. So he honestly, the doctors had to undergo an important task to like basically pierce it and drain the fluid. Yeah. Anyway, now the second injury, oh my gosh, this one wasn't as massive of a trauma, but it's still, he was like, what the? All of these traumas were surrounding his head. I mean, like the headaches, the nausea. He had to stop what he was doing. They had been digging, they had been doing an experiment, and he just had to walk away. He had to go to the completely other side of the ranch just to get himself right. And he did, he said, once he separated himself from where they were doing the investigation, all symptoms went away, right? That's crazy. He still went and checked himself out, but he immediately felt better. Okay, just really strange stuff. Now, his third injury took place during the second season, and he had been digging again with the digging with an excavator, and actually heard a voice this time telling him to stop and go home and go to sleep, get rest. That's what he heard, a voice telling him to do. So he did it. And he woke up the next morning yet again needing to go to the hospital. So it's scary shit. To say the least, it is scary shit. I'm telling you, I don't I don't even know why these people go back there. But anyway, let me tell you the problem with Homestead too. Okay, this location on the ranch is known by locals and the people who are doing these investigations and the people who live and work there as the most haunted spot around the property, without a doubt. People have seen orbs. They've experienced massive radiation spikes in the equipment that they carry around, and they've also seen glowing lights, at night that are heading up towards the sky. Trippy stuff, unbelievable. Okay. Now, the homestead, too, was built in 1905 by John and Emma Myers, who lived there and raised cattle, but it's been abandoned since the 1930s. Okay. And now in season one of Skinwalker Ranch, the team was headquartered at one point they were at Homestead to launch a drone because it gave them a specific line of sight to these caves up in the mesa that they wanted to get a better read on. They couldn't get to specific spots, but a drone could. I mean, they can pretty much go anywhere. Those things are awesome. But this was a $35,000 drone. They had a specialist come in, and it was something he'd been doing for years and had a lot of success with. So he came in, and as soon as they said, okay, let's go, start her up, no, all the batteries died. There was no connection between the drone and the remote. Everything, and then other people, their phones started to act weird, and the guy even went like down the road a little ways from Homestead too. Still nothing. $35,000 drone. Zip results. They weren't able to do anything with it. So in another team member that was affected by specifically Homestead 2 was Dr. Travis Taylor. Now he's again a part of the team that the History Channel has there, and he had he was going towards he was doing readings. They were trying to figure out why there was such high radiation spikes in certain areas, and it drew him to this, like, there was a cement top tube, pretty thick, but nothing you couldn't move, right? It was in the ground, and he was warned by the guy he was with. Was warned. He says, maybe you should, put on some. Okay, Travis goes ahead and pushes it aside all by himself. He opens it, and this horrifying smell comes out. And it, just the both of them were like, I mean, this other guy was, he was a little bit further back. His face was like right, he literally like put his face right over this thing when he opened it. And he got like this big waft of disgusting air. And he mentioned that it was just crappy old water. It could have been an old septic or something. And the other guy just sort of, he remained standing and looked in and goes, yeah, okay, let's cover that back up. Now, whatever it was, it seriously was polluted and stunk to high heaven. Now, about 10 seconds after Travis put the lid back on, he mentioned to the other people he was with, he said, look, I hate to even mention this, but I'm getting like a headache and I feel nauseous. And it's probably just from the smell, whatever. But the next morning, he woke up and he had burns on his face and on his hands. And he went to the doctor to have it checked out. And lo and behold, he had radiation burns. So he had gotten a dose. Okay, get this. He was hit on it's called a decimeter, dosimeter. That's what showed he had been hit with a 120 millirads per second. Okay, now of course I had no idea what that was, so I looked it. He went on to explain it, thank God, because he's really good about doing that. He said that's like getting 20,000 full body x-rays in an airport, which is 5 times more than is legally allowed in a year. Think about that. So Travis was exposed to ionizing radiation, and there it was. I mean, it's like it was just the tip of the iceberg with this place. I mean, they have incidents of all of their equipment shutting down. They've had cow mutilations. They've had objects in the sky while they're like during the day having these meetings. All of a sudden, they'll look up and there'll be an orb floating around right near where they're having their meeting. And honestly, I still can't tell you how highly I recommend you watch this. It's if you're into this stuff, watch it, catch up, and then enjoy the next season because it's fantastic. See, I told you I wasn't going to be rattling off facts about this, that, and the other. These are trippy and scary stories. I'm telling you, it's on my bucket list now. I've definitely decided I'm putting it on my bucket list. So until next time, stay happy and healthy, stay weird, and take care. Bye.